We've reported how there was a sharp increase in shootings and murders last year, and now some specific data showing the troubling trend. The FBI said today that across America, murder and manslaughter rose almost 30% compared to 2019.
And that is the largest one-year increase since the federal government started keeping track of this back in the 60s. It was a dramatic yearly jump, though violent crime and homicides are still way below levels that we saw in the 80s and then the first half of the 90s.
We wanted to take a closer look at crime in the city of Buffalo, which also saw that big increase in shootings and homicides. We've talked about it, but that really is only part of the picture here. There were 61 homicides in the city of Buffalo in 2020. That about a 30% increase from the year before, so it mirrors what we saw nationally. But if you look at the chart here, you can see that Buffalo has seen steeper increases in the past, like from 2017 to 2018. Last year, though, we did have the highest death toll in terms of homicides since 2006.
If you look at violent crimes overall, we did see a slight increase last year compared to 2019, but just barely, up about 2%. And just look at how low the crime rate is now compared to previous years. We're still near record lows in terms of violent crimes overall in the city of Buffalo.
Finally, we want to show you property crimes. We continue the downward trend that dates all the way back to the early 90s and even before that. Each year, we're just seeing fewer and fewer total property crimes in the city. So let's discuss all of that right now with Bernie Tolbert, a former FBI special agent in charge among his many jobs that he's had over the years. Bernie, thanks so much for coming on. Great to get your expertise.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Bernie, we knew that there was a big increase in shootings and homicides, here and in cities all over the country. So the report isn't necessarily a surprise, but we can see the numbers now. And what sticks out to you in terms of those numbers of murders?
Well, as you said, it's reflective of what's going on in the country. And in these figures, there are a number of factors that can play into this. Over the years, you'll see a one-year spike where it'll go up a lot, and it could be the result of a violent crime gang that's proliferating in a certain area, any number of things. So unless you took a long period, look over a long period of time, it's hard to say that there is a particular problem. Like I said, especially when you talk about numbers, 61 homicides. That's a lot, certainly, but in the grand scheme of things, with the number of people we have and things like that, you might argue that it really isn't too many per capita. So you can have those kinds of things. But I think, and so what happens in law enforcement is when they have those kinds of incidents, you'll see an effort like there was this year by the FBI, the Buffalo Police, sheriffs, and a number of other agencies, both federal, state, and local, to address that problem. So they will come in and they'll say, we've got a huge problem with homicide, and they'll put together a task force. They'll work it hard, bring the numbers down. And that's why I think you don't see these huge fluctuations on these kinds of things, because law enforcement is being responsive, as they should be, to crime problems as they come up. So the numbers in Buffalo, they aren't surprising. Certainly that we have the increases, and there can be some reasons for those increases. Even the pandemic plays a role in that people aren't going to work. People are busy with other things, so you have more interactions than you might normally have. Folks who are affected by a pandemic may find a need to do things to make ends meet. So they'll do some perhaps illegal activities that help them get the financial means that they need, and then those kinds of things may lead to interactions that will result in a homicide where normally it wouldn't be. So I think there's a number of things like that come into play. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you, I think one of the things that people are scratching their head about, though, is you look at the dramatic increase, at least in 1 year, in homicides and murders, but violent crime overall, I mean, it was pretty much flat. We just did not see a dramatic increase with that. So it is kind of one of those things that you wonder why the one and not all the others, right?
Exactly. Like I said, I remember my time as an FBI agent when you get in a city like Buffalo, which is a fairly small-sized city. If you get a couple gangs that are pretty active, they're warring with each other, and there's a number of killings, shootings that result from that. That those will skew the figures, where it'll seem like you had a huge increase when there was that increase, but it was really a result of maybe a couple, 2 or 3 gangs fighting among each other, and that tells off that it goes back to what you might see over the course of a longer 5, 10-year, 20-year period.
And we have
go ahead. I did want to mention property. You mentioned property crimes, and I do have a thought on that. Property crimes have been going down for a decade now, at least a decade. And I think part of the reason that has to do with technology. We have many homes have cameras on them now. You have doorbell cameras. You have all those kinds of things. And the folks the bad guys who are committing the property crimes, they know that. And they know that chances are in today's world, you're going to be seen. And people have cell phones, so they can take a picture. I'm on a couple of sites where neighborhoods get together, and they're always sharing. This person came to my door, but I saw them, lingering around my house. Be careful, be on the lookout. So I think that bit of technology has, in large part, played a role in decreasing the amount of property crime that takes place.
Absolutely. We have to leave it there. We're out of time. Bernie Tolbert, always great to have you on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
And that is it for the Town Hall for tonight. Thanks so much for watching.
And if you have a question or comment for us, our text line number is right there. Scott and Mary Alice are back after this break.